it's good to try, but it's also good to know your limit.
It's not just a matter of getting the job done, but it's getting the job done and getting the job done right.
I know my worth. It's good, but sometimes it's good to know your worth with an open mind.
Exactly. Yeah. You know, I used to be a mokorino. So from that, then
can you pause this situation? Sijui kama kuna mtu anaweza photoshop mtu.
I used to have a turban by the so kwanza ilikuwa
ya color,
ilikuwa ya purple.
So ulikuwa kama
intercessor
kama black belt.
Do we make mistakes or do mistakes make us? The whole thing is around mistakes make us.
Is ile nini? This is very poetry.
It's fluid. You dust yourself. Ni kama ukiangusha una nduthi.
Hata
unajanga inanga insurance. Unamkanga unajipangusa. No, unaungetu. Mnasonga.
What's up, everyone, and welcome to Successful Fuckups. And that is our podcast where we get to bring to light a lot of learnings that have come from life. In simple terms, you know, we everyone needs a mentor, and sometimes mentors come in different shapes and forms. Sometimes it's a book, sometimes it's a person, and sometimes it is those things that you ignore, which is the failure that you've had, and we get to discuss the learnings from it. And it's not so much about sitting here and having doom and gloom. We are not being sad. We're having this in a positive light.
Yep.
In a way or form, it's like, you know, healing. Think of this as therapy. So there's a lot of things that you've done or not done, and they've taught you one or two things, and that is what we are here to talk about in the context of business, in the context of life, in the context of careers, and that's the whole basis of why we are here.
Yep.
Cool?
Yep.
And today, as usual, with the two co-hosts, Arlon and Sam, salimieni watu bwana.
Apalisenyo ama nitumeko salamu tunaweza anzaje. But anyway, yeah, so I think we want to encourage our audience that they are not alone. You know, those things that you feel like are your failures.
Yeah.
You know, the first one neither will be the last one.
No,
so,
you will not.
You know, it's bound to happen. So, and we want to use this platform also to encourage people so that they can take more mistakes and learn from them.
Yeah.
I think the key thing is the road to success is paved lots of failures and mistakes. That's just what we are shedding light on, so that people can really understand that when you fall, it's not that you've fallen. It's just a stepping stone to the next thing.
Yeah. Right? There's no soldier that doesn't have scars. So, in fact, if you meet one, they never have been to any war. So,
nasema story ya soldier nikakumbuka combat ama
combat.
Unajua ulikuwa unasema wewe na napi.
Let's not go there.
Let's not go there.
Anyway, so, you know, there's that saying about, I think it's Mike Tyson who said, you plan very well until you're punched in the face. So what happened is that we were planning to have a guest, and of course they didn't happen, but we realized we are not going to sit back and complain or cry. And so we made the best out of it, and we have given you a show. But now the basis of this show is we set a series of questions. And those questions are in this little bowl over here. So each of us are going to pick a question. And that question is something that is reflective. And it's something to do with, it's a question that you yourself can also think about in your own context. But we're going to give you our perspectives and our experiences around it. And it's a very random thing, but it's deep questions. Some of these questions, I think our producer was... kuna mtu anataka watu watoe machozi huku. But that's not going to... Well, let's see how it goes, okay? It's a safe space, right?
Yes.
So Arlon unakoroga, and we'll shoot straight. And that's, you know, let's just... there's no ceremony. I think we just hit it straight. How do you want to start?
I can start.
You'll start?
Yes.
All right, pick the first one.
Let's do this.
The first question to myself is, what's a facepalm moment from your career that still makes you cringe and laugh?
Maybe for the purposes of our audience, what is a facepalm?
Ile emoji.
Ile kujishika hivi.
Yes, that one.
Okay.
Facepalm moment. Where?
Go.
I think it's... Okay, there was a time I was handling a certain client in this NGO space. Can't remember the actual name. But we were designing and printing for them some material. I think, some material. So that weekend, I wasn't able to really review the work. So the work was sent to me very late, and there was no time to review. And then in my mind at that time, it will rather get printed than I say that it wouldn't get printed because I needed to review. So I was still young in my career. So it went for print, and it came back. Everything had been, I can't remember, I think like huge number of copies. But they came back with very many mistakes, very many mistakes. And the client refused to pay for them. So it became the company that will need to...
You went out of pocket?
Yeah. So it's the company that will need to...
Not your own
pay.
pocket.
Ideally, it should have come to me because it was my mistake. So I remember I got a very good dress down because of that huge failure that I did. But it was still a huge learning process. Nowadays, I review everything.
Okay.
And one thing that I learned was actually that it's not just a matter of getting the job done, but it's getting the job done and getting the job done right. So I think that's one thing that I learned from that Facepalm moment.
I think it normally happens a lot, especially when you're trying to write emails, and many people will agree to this. You've read through, and then and I was seeing some meme going around, and they were saying, please find a tact. And then you see you read everything perfectly, but when you see the reply, that's when you're like, oh, yeah.
Mine wasn't even anything serious, but it's a bit of a learning. You know, like when you buy boxers, you need to be self-aware.
Self-aware of what?
Of your situation.
Okay.
Usinunue kama haitoshi.
Okay.
Na pia ununue like the right material. Cotton, no.
Leather.
Hapana, si leather. So there's a time I bought some online, obviously. Nikavaa. Mchana ikanisumbua sana. Mi nikatoa. Nikaiweka wapi kwa laptop bag. So during the day tukasukumana. But as usual,
sasa wacha nikuulize swali. Sasa ulitoa saa ngapi asubuhi?
Umetembea kitu. No, unajaribu kungangana nayo until maybe kitu 11:37. After hapo unasema hatuwezi shinda hivi. If we have come from 9 to now, na hivi ndio ninasikia, there's no way tunafika 5. I removed it nikaweka kwa bag. As usual, the part in the bag yenye niliweka hata sikufungua tena. Na nikasonga na maisha. So ikakaa hapo for some time. But yes, during the day, I know the question you're trying to ask yourself. Nilika hivyo the whole day. No, it was a better feeling. It was a better problem. So now there's a time now when we're going for another pitch. Nikienda kutoa laptop. Unajua venye laptop inajifunganga hivi. Ilikuwa imeuma box.
Ikaanza presentation.
So as we are trying to set up hapo kwa boardroom, people are like, yeah, welcome. Oh, nini set up. Nikafanya of course. Kiboxa kikajitandaza hapo. But before, me, I'm the one who knew what it was. Kabla watu washikanishe, nilikunja nikaanza kupanguza hapo. So that it's a positive mistake. So anyway, nunua boxer kama unajua size. Self-awareness.
Self-awareness.
No, online, but
zinakuwaga standard, I think.
Lakini sasa the problem is China.
By the China pia.
Yeah, the problem is China. Because you can buy some. What is medium inakuja ikiwa hii ingine. Sasa siku mzima unashinda ukisikia nikao unapimwa weight. Nikao umevaa body suit. Yeah.
That's interesting.
So that goes. Oh my goodness. If your biggest failure were turned into a movie, what would the title be, and who would play you?
That's a good one. That's a good one. Yeah.
Let me start with who would play me. I think Ryan Reynolds.
Why?
Okay, I think he has a very interesting mix of seriousness and oops and sarcasm mixed in together. So at the end of the day, you don't know whether he's being serious or not. But I mean, when you even look at I think he has a gene. Aviator gene.
Yeah.
If you look at the ads, they're very serious, non-serious. The delivery is heavily sarcastic.
Yeah.
So I think he has the ability to do both things. Now, what would the title of this thing be? I think it would be that Britney Spears song. Oops, I did it
Let's charge our
again.
soundtrack.
I played with your heart. That one.
Yeah, that one.
That one would be it. I think I have repeated certain things that I needed not to.
Yeah.
Mostly because of emotional attachments. I've started businesses with friends, but the friendship not considering the business side.
Okay.
And emotions got pulled into the way, leading with, a lot of your heart a lot.
What would you say is like a key takeout in that situation? Is it okay to get into business with friends, or if someone is getting into a business venture with a friend, what are some of the things that they need to consider?
I think it is good to have. It is in many ways. I think the only thing that we need to do is not to forget that there is shared vision, shared values, and shared goals.
Okay.
Now, as long as those shared goals are put in the forefront and they are documented, there shouldn't be a problem. And the understanding of what business is also is important. I think in many ways sometimes we think as of businesses as these things to make money, which is true.
Yeah.
But there is a beginning and an ending. There is also an exit.
process.
So true, yeah.
There's also an exit.
Yeah.
Businesses should be set up for you to exit. And exiting shouldn't mean that there is beef.
You can still be friends.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah,
it's just that,
you didn't, the visions did not align at that specific
or
time.
even if they have,
priorities
I have gotten to a certain point where I feel I have reached where I can reach.
Yeah, true.
It should be okay for the rest to continue.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that it should be killed because, there's this thing where there are some people who operate with this belief that I started it and therefore I need to be in it. And because I need to be in it when I'm not in it, it shouldn't continue.
And I think that kills a lot of business.
Yeah,
because
it does.
you want to control everything.
Yeah.
And you want to be everywhere.
Yeah.
So you end up stretching yourself too thinly, and then you end up failing in that regard.
Yeah.
So I think also learning to delegate and also learning that the business has a life of its own.
Yes. Yeah. It doesn't end and die with you.
Yeah.
And if you are not feeling like you have the capacity to continue, other people can go on. It isn't and when they go on, I think there is an ego, because we have to call it what it is. There's an ego that makes people feel like, okay, because I have left and it has grown to even become more, that now they have become more without my effort.
Yeah,
I agree. Yeah.
So I think sometimes there's a lack of self-awareness also, where someone, we don't always have to go in the same path. Let's just call it what it is. It's a lot of BS, but it's what it is. So yes. Oops.
I think mine will be spectacular.
Aye.
Because of the spectacular failures that I've had. Anyway, I'll think it's my turn.
But no, finish.
Spectacular because of the failures that I've had. I have failed spectacularly. Like, if I was to be a character in that movie,
who would play you?
I think it would be Njugush.
Listen,
The Njugush of Real Housewives of Kawangware.
Oh,
That's
okay.
Njugush, yeah. That would be
Ulowa,
character.
Hezek, Kiadong.
The way he was failing with all those mamas. What is the most surprising thing you've learned about yourself through your failures? And how has it shaped your definition of success?
That one is deep. This feels a lot like those questions people ask each other on the first date.
Hey.
How do you handle conflict? How do you... Where? Sometimes it gets nini. Lazima watu waanze kuulizana maswali ngumu.
So I think something interesting that I've learned about myself regarding failure is I always want to prove myself right. Okay?
Prove yourself right.
Yes. I was wrong, but I want to prove myself right. So how I do it, I like to, and I've learned this, I like to course correct, so to speak. So I want to, if I failed, I want to go back and do it better. So, and this I learned even like when I was starting my career. So I had gone to I had attended one seminar back in campus on digital marketing. And then I thought I was very good digital marketer. So when I was exiting my work in the corporate world, one of my friends connected me to an agency to go and interview. It was one of the big agencies. I don't want to mention names. And then the guy that was like the way I know Arlon in an agency, they don't make decision, but I know him. He was drinking, so he came very high. Then he looked at me, he asked me a few questions, and then he told me, you don't know anything about digital. Google vitu umekuja hapa. Actually, you have wasted my time. I waited for him for like 2 hours. So when I went back home, I spent a lot of time, nerd moment, just going through this digital marketing space. And I think that was the beginning of my career. And then I made it, I made it upon myself to enroll myself now to do a diploma in. I think it was integrated brand communication with a focus specifically on digital marketing.
Yeah.
So I think that thing, and I've learned this even with so many things that we do. So I'll go back and say, I didn't know this thing. I need to know it. I need to prove myself wrong. Myself right, sorry, that I can actually do this thing. So that is something interesting I've learned about myself.
That's cool.
With failure.
A lot of times we sometimes translate those block moments badly. And I know this word is used a lot. I know my worth. It's good, but sometimes it's good to know your worth with an open mind as well.
Exactly, yeah.
You're not, you don't know what you don't know. And I think that means that we have to also have a culture of like constantly, because even if there's nothing you do in school that comes out of here that you come out of here with that now gives you the full grounding.
Yeah, true.
So I think
even life itself is a college. So you learn through life, through moments. So being open-minded and also listening to people. So sometimes translating those things to actually something substantial.
I think that thing you've mentioned around knowing your worth. I think a good example is a bottle of Coca-Cola. Kwa duka, it'll be X amount. When you go to Serena, it'll be X amount. When you go to a club, it'll be another amount.
Yeah.
Go to the airport, it's another amount. So worth is also relative.
yes,
So it is the same product. It's still you.
it's a very good analogy.
But depending on the context in which you are currently in, then the worth is very different.
Or the context you want to play in, like where you want to be, then I think you can also define your worth.
Yes.
Depending on the context that you want to create for yourself.
Yeah.
Back to you.
Back to studio.
Back to studio. Nimefikiwa mapema.
But mnasikia ni kama mnachambuliwa roho sana.
Tukienda dates tutakuwa tunatumia mtu link.
Tutakuwa tunatumia mtu nini
Google
Doc. Yeah, watch this. No, not even that. I think people should do this on first dates actually. You go with like a bowl of questions. Unaweka hapo katikati. Then kitisha chakula
But it can be a very good business idea where someone impartial anatengeneza the questions anakuwa the judge. Alafu tunafanya compatibility, tunaona kama mnaelewana ama mwezi.
Tunarusha AI.
Tunarusha AI hapo.
Shoot.
So I'll need to think about it. What's the weirdest or funniest way you've ever failed at something? And did it teach you anything other than don't do that again? I need to think.
Funny can be relative.
I think I have an idea.
Shoot.
Maybe yours will open my mind.
No, yours.
Of which one?
At this time when you went to sell drinks in an event and then people, the event had their own drinks and then you ended up drinking your own stock. And then you gave the entire stock for free.
We didn't give entire stock for free. Okay, maybe we can work with that one. So
first of all, give us context.
Yes. So I have this brand called Shoot Your Shot. So Shoot Your Shot is a brand that sells alcoholic shots in events. That's all we do. We sell shots.
Like those babes who go around with the...
Yeah, so there's some who go around, but most of the sales actually happen within the, what do you call it?
The booth.
The booth, yes. So at first it worked well because no one else was doing this. And everyone was brushing us off. Like, these guys are just selling. I mean, if you looked at our stock, you'd think we are going to a house party. So no one was taking us seriously.
BYOB.
Yes. So we start 1 event, 2 events. And they realize that we are actually getting the people. So there's the people who've paid for the actual bar, but they're not getting the sales because everyone is coming for the shots. Which one? Not that they were cheap. We were actually the most expensive alcohol there, but we had a very good customer experience, I think, there. So one day we had an event, somewhere along Kiambu Road. And we start setting up. Okay, we set up. The event hasn't started shikaing, but they start seeing people are coming to this tent. And because the organizers of the event had a deal with the main bar person in terms of they'll have a split at the end of the event, then they realize that we are messing up both the plan for this booth and also for the partners, because they know how their revenue was supposed to come in. So it caused a whole problem. But I can't say we failed. At least we were able to course correct very, very fast. So we also agreed with them on a revenue share thing. And we still managed to hit our revenue goals.
But ulikunywa stock.
Kuna ile ilibaki. I can't refuse. But it was also COVID time. So
Okay.
Stock kubaki wasn't really a big problem. With just drink and drink.
I think mine, when it was very early, those things you always see, I want to do business. But you don't do a lot of homework because you romanticize how business works. So you either think that I will just go here, I tell you, you buy, and then we move. So me and my buddies, I think it was very early on, I think we were 24 or something. Tuka decide tutaweka kuku. And then kasema ati we even gave it a name. We called it Mother's Garden.
Mother's Garden.
Yeah, the idea is that it's that kitchen behind your that garden behind your kitchen, blah blah blah. So it's it's sentimental, blah blah blah, a lot of things. So yeah, and then one of our buddies, we are three of us. So one of our buddies, the folks have a place in Kamulu. So kuna space, akatuambia wekeni hapa. So tukaweka kuku. Na zilikuwa mingi. Ndio nasemanga, sometimes before you start saying you want to do something, understand the value chain. Don't say you want to sell eggs kama hujaweka kuku. Kuweka kuku who has an ecosystem. So understand the ecosystem kidogo. So as we thought, you rear the things, alafu unaanza kuambia watu niko na kuku. Now, the thing about Africa, because I think it's an African thing, is there are no deep structures. So if you go somewhere to a hotel, umwambia ninakuwa na kuku, alafu anakuambia si ulete kesho, namwambia bado zinakuwa lakini zikiwa ready nitalete.
So mnaanza
but sasa huo mtu he's moving on.
The
next another person comes, there are no deep structures. And then secondly, I think one of the rules of sales is you have to have the right product to the right person, deliver the right message, like that. So obviously even when you're talking to someone, you have to know you're talking to the right person. So usikuja hapa ati you're looking for I don't know what business, and then you uonge na receptionist alafu useme that was a lead. How is it a lead? Receptionist amekwambia uende urudi. So it was the same way. So umeenda sijui Safari Park, labda umeongea tu na waiter huko, alafu anakwambia tunanunuanga kuku sana huku, hata kushinda yetu ni kumaliza. When they were sasa zile zilikuwa ready, tukaanza kupeleka. Unanikumbuka? Hebu sema haraka kenye imekuleta. Ndio sasa nimerudi. Kwambia tulishanunua. Na saa hiyo these things have a shelf life. So zinaanza kuoza. Long story short, I think we only sold, I think out of 200 of that batch, we probably sold at most. Na that is mostly to friends. Na ni wale watu unabembeleza. Nakaa hujakula kuku wewe. And we sell it, do wapi. But there was no structure, there was no nothing. It was just hope. And hope is not a strategy. So that was an interesting. Not I've cut that story short because there was a lot of
we should get to it sometime soon.
That entire process from where umeshaichinja kuku more than moja. When you bring a guy, kuna wababa wanaweza ita musiji, kuna muchinji. Getting that guy.
Kazi yake ni kuchinja kuku.
It's one guy doing a massacre of 200. And he's disassembling. Anatoanisha the insides and everything, and he does it in like a period of like not a very it's like within half a day. Amemaliza kuhusu mbili. Haya, huo mtu unamtoanga wapi? You know, when you're starting, you do not know. So there are some of these things you can't do without structure, and you can't do ati kwa simu. And then those were not days ati kulikuwa na IG or Facebook Marketplace.
TikTok dance na kuku.
Hakukuwa na TikTok. There was nothing. It was you wake up, you go to a place. So hapa hii soko ya West, I remember we went there. To kuchoma chap before they demolished where they were. Tuliuza hapo, but quantities za hapo ni mtu anakuambia niletee 3. Unaleta 3, ukwenda 2. Keep in mind ikitu the farm is in Kamulu. So sasa umeanza ku refrigerate na hiyo time we are 20 watt, we are all living in one house. Freezer haitoshi.
Yako ni poa. Mimi bila nilimaliza shule with one of my cousin. Tulifikiria tutaweza uza cabbage. So tumeenda Githurai. Wewe sister in Rosambu. So tumeenda Githurai. Tukaona by the cabbage zinabai wangu sana. So my cousin came up with a brilliant idea. Tuenda Nyandarua. Buy cabbage tuzilete.
When zinauza kwa 5 bob.
So we went tukaeka tudonto wetu vizuri sasa everything. Yeye akaenda akatafuta kanta, akaenda Nyandarua kuja na cabbage. Kufika kwa soko pia, the way you park your lorry, because the idea was to sell to people like mtu wa kibanda nini, so they'll come and buy and things like that. So what we did, tukafika na cabbage zetu. Tukaambia kwanza lazima ulipe shimo nini, uongee na broker ndio kuonyesha. We invested that money only to be told that the cabbage that we brought si yenye iko kwa soko sasa kwa market. So the broker came back and said, so tumefungua kanta. Umeleta cabbage, kuna zile za green na zingine zinakaanga purple-ish. Umeleta hizi za purple. Hizi watu wanunui huku, hizi hazinunuliwi. Sasa uko na cabbage lori moja, anakwambia kuna mtu atanunua hata mmoja. Akatuambia, but you can sell them in Machakos.
From Githurai.
Sasa si utafanya nini na cabbage? Tukaenda hadi Machakos. Tukaambiwa na muende Sunday ndio siku ya soko. Kaya cabbage zetu hapo. Kuna mtu anabai manzi. Tukarudi na kanta. Sasa since tuko in debt, to cut the long story short, what we did, tukaziweka kwa mkokoteni. Mind you, I went to Yasaiu. Sasa niko na mkokoteni Roysambu.
Na mtu wa kuvuruta ama
my friend Ian, unajua my friend Ian alikuwa na nguo nyingine ya jeshi. Alafu anavaa nguo imeandikwa G-Uni. Alafu unajua kuna tumandevu. So nikampatia mkokoteni. Na sasa mimi naanza kuuza cabbage. So I remember manze there is a babe I was hitting on. Meshikilia cabbage zangu.
History ya kurukia mambo na hujui the way things work.
Tulienda kuzipatiana kwa children's home.
Mimi najua mtu alienda hadi Garissa kuuza
cabbage.
Cabbage story.
Garissa watu wanakula cabbage.
Take it from Nyandarua to Garissa. The margins are crazy. But you see, lazima ujue soko. Wewe tulioshwa. Especially wewe ulisema ulikula kuku. Sisi tulikula cabbage na salad.
I think I stayed for like 1 year bila kukula kuku. Because nilichemusha, una fry, una sijui nini. Like it's very, but this thing of kurukia mambo just because this is the same reason why watu walieka quails kwa apartment.
Yes. Usifuate vitu biashara hauelewi. It's not like don't be hungry for success without actually looking at the process, understanding the business.
Yeah, it's not about the money.
And also utilize your knowledge yako. There's a guy who did that biashara called Edu. Na yeye ali-succeed. Sasa yeye anaenda ngata maembe, anaendea nini, so he understand the market, he understand how it works. But if you don't biashara mtu mwingine wachana nayo. Haya tuingie kwako.
Kwa hivyo wewe Arlon usifungue kinyozi.
Asifungue kinyozi.
Kulingana na hii hairline venye inaenda.
We pick a question.
All right. Let's see how this goes. Where? Okay. Have you ever had a failure so bad that you thought, yep, this is the one that they'll put on the tombstone? On the tombstone.
Here lies the man.
Yeah. Jimmy Mohanki. Kukuman. Huh? And what was it? Of course they are there, but I don't know whether I have ever felt ni kama hii ndio imenimaliza. Okay, let me put it this way. Okay, naturally, and this is I'm thankful to God for this, I've always had a very sort of like resilient spirit. Like sijuangi like kama I don't have that moment hiyo ya like imeisha take the wheel like kuna hizo like but I don't ever feel like I have a thing about like haya bas let's move. I have constant motion and I think it's based on upbringing and whatnot, but there are those ones that are there. And this goes back to that point I was making earlier about you start businesses with friends, but it's more about the friendship than it is about the shared vision. Now, when you're an empath, I was told that I'm an empath. I think, not I know. I was told
What is an empath?
Someone who always thinks about the other person.
Oh, you are empathetical.
Yeah, you're empathetic.
Empathetic.
Yeah.
Oh.
But the challenge usually happens when earlier on, you do not know how to handle it. And what happens is you expect yourself in others.
Yeah.
So if you are doing something, there is, there are things that I don't expect you to do because I wouldn't do them. And as a result, you kind of have a happy-go-lucky attitude. And it's not happy-go-lucky, it's just that haezi fanya hivyo, you know. And so, yeah, I was in a situation where I had a partnership with someone. But, you know, you're always like, you believe that because me, I'm doing this, you are doing that. And
so everybody's pulling in their own weight.
Yeah. And even if you're pulling your own weight, you have the same you believe that there's some level of integrity around certain things.
Yeah.
So it turns out that based on what we were doing, I was not focused on like doing collections and things like those. He was the one doing that. But there was a moral issue because what happened was he ended up doing collections in a different way, in a separate way. So let's say we are running a business called Apex. And then you go and when the payment comes on the invoicing, you might even change the invoice details. And then the payment goes to you. But now me, because I don't deal with the clients, because I'm sure you are the one dealing with it.
Yes.
It turned out that, according to me, we are not being paid. But he knows a different story. And of course,
he's getting money.
Yeah.
And then
it's rerouted.
Wow. Well, okay.
So now
that's mafia, though.
It's very bad. But you know, you don't expect it because it's your
friend.
Your friend. So now it got bad. Like it really got bad to a point where now. But the thing is, as I told you, naturally, I'm a person of motion, and I think it's I'm a person. So I'm continuing to push. I'm pushing. In between there, it gets to a point you haven't collected for a period.
Yeah.
Mpaka rent sasa ni shida. So at some point I was even supposed to be auctioned.
Wow.
And then you know you're sharing this information with who? The same person.
Yeah.
Unajua ile kikulacho.
Kikulacho kinguoni mwako.
My friend, you are telling, hey, boss, naanza kuharasiwa sijui nini. And then even him is like, hata mimi niko the same boat.
Watu hawalipi.
Hatujui shida yao ni nini.
Hata sijui shida yao ni nini. And then instead of...
he would actually look you in the face and say these things to you.
You're together.
Like he knows your house is being you and this situation.
1,000,000%.
Hadi anakuofa bedroom yake.
Kuna
sasa yako in that
situation.
Tuko the same, hata mimi niko kwa hiyo boat.
Yeah.
Okay.
We are in the same boat.
So kama mkuli lunch hata ya kuli lunch ama alikuwa anakula lunch.
Sasa ujui kama mtu amebomoa na huko.
Alafu anafanya hivi.
So by sheer luck, I think this is where I think business is very spiritual for me. Because there are some things, you know that thing of give us this day our daily bread. Me, I have seen it. It's for real.
Yeah.
So what happened is, by sheer luck, one time, unajua bado hukai kwa nyumba at you. I don't have that bone of at you sit and then you'll be like, saa tufanye. At that time, I have even called people. I have never had that carbone. So bado nasonga. And then it just so happened that one time hakuwa available and then I was now speaking to the client directly. But I was reluctant. So client ananiangalia anasema, you look off.
What's up?
You know, you've not paid us.
Hujatulipa bwana.
But we are continuing. Akaniangalia na ile sura ya, what do you mean? You have not
Flabbergasted.
And then he could realize that we are not speaking the same language. And then at that very moment, he knew what is happening and then I knew what is happening. Then we looked at each other and then he just said, don't worry. He was generous enough to say, don't worry, that will be my loss.
Wow.
And he gave another payment.
To you, Amba?
He told me here.
Oh, okay.
And that is how it got solved.
I'm just curious. Now, how did you report this to
You know,
person?
I just nilichukua tu simu, nikamuuliza, like, what the, wow. And then he knew that I knew. And then
Akusema pole.
Akusema-
the
I can
following,
explain.
no, a few hours later, there was a paragraph and a half.
Of why?
Not why. It was not why. It was just pole. I hope you find it in your heart to
Forgive
blah,
me.
blah, blah, all of those things. Again, I'm not a person who dwells, so nikasema tu hiyo story imeisha. Na nikasonga na tukuwa yonana. So ikaisha hivyo.
Okay.
But kama ingekuwa kwa tombstone, at that time, hiyo ndio ingewekwa.
Ulinyoroshwa a good one, I think.
That, the sky is there.
I hear like I've not experienced this. But nasikianga panya kikuuma inakumanga alafu
Inakupuliza.
inakupuliza. Ndio
Hata me have not experienced. But I think the figurative, hata kama haijawahi experience, I think the meaning behind it is very deep.
Yeah.
But that thing
That's
of
sad.
kikulacho.
So I think what I'm picking from here is that don't trust a lot. Like question. Always have question.
I think don't blindly trust.
Don't blindly trust. That's
And
a
then
good
I
one,
think relying on trust is one thing, but I think because trust is, yes, there should be a level of trust.
Yeah.
You know, me, that's the time I understood. You know, like when you go into organizations, you see posters in walls written integrity. According to me, I used to wonder, why are we writing these things?
Yeah.
See, it goes without saying.
Yeah.
But it doesn't. So at the end of the day, document is what I am saying. And if it's being documented, let there be structures in a way that... and a lot of these things, I guess they happen when you're a bit younger. Because at that point, you don't know much about what you
Because
don't
I think it would have been as simple as keeping in copy of the email communication when he's sending these invoices and things like
those
that.
things, yeah.
But
But you see, at that point, you know you're doing, me, I'm doing.
yeah.
And then you push. I've never actually had this story public. It's not that I go around talking about it. No. I've always been a person of, if it happened, we move on. I'm not going to go and be uko public about it. But it's important for people to understand that there are some things we take for granted. We look at maybe legal stuff as expenses. They are not really.
Yeah,
if you look at the value that
and the
at the end of the
risk
day
associated with
that
it.
there is. We all were not brought up the same. So you never know in push comes to shove situations what someone is going to do that maybe you would never ever do.
Yeah, true.
But si ndio maana unasikia umeshaikaa na baba ama mzee ama uncle alafu aone mtu akivuka barabara akwambie naona ule mtu na mtu nikasia sana. Haujui why he's saying this.
Yeah, true.
So mnakula tu nyama. As a kid, I remember those moments. But now,
You look at someone and say, ule mtu nigasi.
ule mtu baya.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. I think it's my turn.
So,
It's
But
your
that's
turn.
deep. I think it's a very good lesson to learn about. It's not always. Let me just speak.
Kwa sure ni hiyo.
Iko sawa hii.
Final decision.
Iko njui the nishasoma. When has success come from embracing something unconventional or counterintuitive?
What your intuition tells you.
Yes.
You did there.
You do the opposite.
Yeah.
And how do you navigate the pushback?
maybe there was no pushback, but that's it.
Maybe it was no pushback. I have a funny story, but I don't think this show can. Oh, actually, the name can. So
Yes, we want that story.
the interesting one,
Yeah, give us the juice. The juice.
Yes. So, but this is personal, and I think Jimmy, you will decipher the learnings from this story.
Okay. Mi ndio mhenga hapa.
So one day I stayed late and I was so bored. So I was chatting with this babe. She was an exchange student from the US, so she had come from Kenya, and I was telling her of how kinky I am. But
Are we sure we want to continue with this conversation?
But you see, at the back of my mind, I come from a very humble background. So these things during that time were, taboo. I was very, I used to be a mokorino. So from that, then
Can you pause this situation? Sijui kama kuna mtu anaweza photoshop huyu mtu.
I used to have a turban by the so kwanza ilikuwa
Ya colour?
Ilikuwa ya purple.
Hey, so wewe ulikuwa kama
Intercessor.
kama black belt.
So I was very, chill. But now I'm chatting and I'm like, yeah. So what do you do? I'm like, yeah. So fast forward. So we agree. She's like, hey, I'll come over. And then I had my cousin sleeping. So we were living in a
Oh my
two-bedroom.
God.
So he's in the next room and then I'm here. So we chat, and then we get there. So she's like, you know what? Do you have a kit? So nashindo kit ni nini tena?
Arlon, are you sure we want to continue with this?
Kumbe ni kit. Arlon anajua hizi vitu. So sina kit. Akasema, don't worry, we'll improvise. So I just started working in a bank. So I had these ties, shoelaces, na nini. Wacha kijana wenyewe wafungwe kwa kitanda.
I think this is the part we skip. We go to the lesson.
So to cut the long story short, it didn't end up very well. And I learned the hard way. So I think my lesson from there is don't overpromise.
Under-deliver. Will you under-deliver?
No. But stick to your lanes. That's the name.
We will not explore.
Ukisikia watu wanauza quails, usiingie kwa quails.
What is simple?
Exactly.
It's a good deal. But this we need another podcast for that particular one.
Then we'll take us in a different tangent.
Watu wa kufungwa na matai.
How do you distinguish between a failure to learn from and a failure to let go of?
Well, okay. Yeah, that one is nice.
This is a good one.
That is nice.
So I actually think whether you learn from it or not, you should let go of it. So you let go of the failure, but pick up the lessons as you go ahead. So I think that will be my answer. I don't think it's something to distinguish.
Yeah.
Just something to take the learnings from, whatever it is. It could be taking learnings. It could be it directs in a different direction altogether. But I don't think it's something to distinguish. Just it's that thing. Don't regret about that situation.
It's not about what happened. It's what you do after.
And kuna certain movie. Can't remember its name. It's one of my guilty pleasures. So star mentioned hata inaitwaje nikikumbuka. But there's a quote there that one of the guys says, okay, it's really like a conundrum. Do we make mistakes or do mistakes make us? And the whole thing is around mistakes make us.
This is very poetry.
It's poetry.
Because I can see that. Do we make mistakes or do mistakes make I?
Yes, very philosophical.
It's very deep.
Yeah, but I think that will be a good answer to this. It's the mistakes or the failures that do make us. So just take them and keep going. The same thing around, always keep moving.
Yeah, it's moving.
Yeah,
It's
I think
movement.
we were discussing about you drown. It was swim or drown.
Yeah, sink or swim.
Sink or swim, yeah. It's the same analogy. And it's very, I think it is important when people, because sometimes, and there's this thing that people have always said about that guy who was, digging, looking for diamonds, and then it was just one more, and then he gave up. So you never know when you're going to make it, and sometimes it's darkest before dawn. So
Yeah, the path is always it's I never know whether to look at at life and the decisions you make as like something that has been written that you will end up here. I think there are many scenarios that can end up depending on the choice you make at a particular at that particular time. So it's you remember that maths for factorization? Fanya hivi.
Hey, by the way.
Fanya hivi. Alafu unaona index 1 amemalizia yake nusu na yeye yako
Inaendelea tu.
wewe yako bado can I have another full scap? Ama index 1 anasema there is a problem with question 6. Na wewe ulishapata answer ya pressure.
ama unajua kwa practical ya chemistry unajua inafaa kutoa pungent smell na some color fulani.
Wewe kinusa inanuka nini?
Unashindwa mbona sipati?
Inanuka Gordon's pink. If you had a warning label based on your past mistakes, what would it say?
Nataka kusema hatari.
Mbwa kali.
Ama nile inakuwa imeandikwa honey sucker. Ukiendesha gari.
Park at your own risk.
If I had a warning label. Oh yes, here goes. Overthinking leads to no action. Yes. I think that would be
that's
the
a
one
true
in
one.
label.
You normally overthink.
Like if I think what I've learned of late is not of late, over time is don't overcook. Like, and I think we've had this conversation in a different environment. Like, there's distance between idea and execution.
Yeah.
Try and shorten it. Of course, with you will never be ready, like 100%.
Yeah, true.
And if you're 100% ready, you are late.
Yes. Yes. Actually, that's the other part of that sentence. You will never be ready 100%.
Yeah.
So even if you're whatever it is that you're doing, you know, arm yourself with the necessary facts. I think we've talked about this on Mamoza Coils and all those things.
Yeah.
Arm yourself with the necessary facts, but then start moving. And when you start moving, other things come in between and they improve. I believe like if you're interested in something like properly for the right reasons, not interested because of pressure, not interested because other people have done it and you want to do it. If you're interested in something and it's something that you believe in, you will immerse yourself, you will learn. And especially now, you can get anything, any sort of information anywhere. You will become very good at it. But the moment you think that you're going to do it in the inverse, where now you first load yourself and then now you move, it's probably never going to be enough. There's always that thing where I think my past, I always had this thing where, and I think it's fear, let's just call it that, where you think that you're not 100, I mean, whatever you need to do, you need someone else. And so you started delegating success to another person.
So you don't believe in yourself or your ability.
In a way,
or in your ability to achieve.
Yeah. So every time you're always thinking, but okay, now I have this, maybe I could add this. Then if I add this and then I have this, then it will be 100%. But it never ends.
Mind.
Huh?
And you're still doing that in your mind.
Yeah, you're still doing all of those scenarios in your mind. If you look at a lot of the most successful business people, they don't spend too much time on the. First of all, this idea of business plans, it's a romantic idea, but
and projections.
Yeah. Well, projections you can do, but it is zingine. You know, it's like reading a manual written how to swim. If I give you that, hata nikupatie 6 months. Alafu nikupeleke nikamwambia haya, show us. You will drown to death.
Yeah.
So the moment you start shallow end pole and you start moving, the better. But that would be the warning label.
Yeah. I think I was reading a book called Obvious. And then they said it's obviously obvious reading this book because sometimes you overcomplicate things, but some of the things are really obvious. And I remember there's this thing about, I think in the 80s, there was something was called the Black Death of Birth, whereby a lot of women, 70% of women who are giving birth will die during childbirth. And these scientists really spent a lot of time trying to analyze what could be the issue. But one person said, the issue is that because we are not after lunch, we don't normally wash our hands. So it was as simple as that. And they really discredited him. It is later when they realized actually we need to sterilize our hands or wash our hands during this bath, during this process. And that thing has never been had again. It's actually reduced. But it was as simple as washing your hands. So they really spend a lot of time, and we spend a lot of time analyzing situation, analysis paralysis,
and creating.
And then we paralyze our objective or whatever we're trying to achieve just because we are analyzing the situation. So I think for me, the key takeout and what I've learned is that the idea to market that period should be very short, because if you delay, probably there's someone else who is thinking about that
Not
idea.
Probably,
that
there is definitely.
Yeah, someone else is
a
actually
version
thinking
of it.
about it. Yeah, so that's my key takeout from this.
I think also maybe there are some situations where idea to market would need to take time. Let's say like the example that people like using is Elon Musk with the Teslas, which did take time before he said, yes, I'm doing this, and we started seeing the cars on the road. But one thing that he also started doing was he still took the idea to market with the waiting list. People paid before even they saw the car. And that tells you that, people actually want this thing. So you're actually already testing in the market, even without the product. It's another way to go
In fact, there's a thing that was being said that you don't launch products. Businesses of today don't launch products. You launch demand.
Yeah.
So the product is the test as to whether obviously you're solving an actual problem.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, demand supply tension is created when you, first of all, sell the thing that you're trying to do, use the information that you receive, and that's why data is important. And then once you use that, you will know whether this is going or this is not going. And you can build with people, not for them 100%, because sometimes you have a lot of assumptions. But this whole idea that you will prepare, I think, is usually fear disguised as preparation.
Yeah.
But there's nothing really like that.
You're actually buying time for yourself.
It's actually fear.
Or suspending.
Yeah, you're scared.
Yeah.
Call it what it is.
Was there ever a point where you felt like giving up completely? What kept you going, and what did you learn from that experience? Of course, there are many times like this when you feel like this thing is not working and I need to give up. So I remember when I was setting up within the, I'm in the BPS space right now, so business process outsourcing. And and before that, I was working in a creative agency. So we had an office space, a 3-bedroom office, which was an agency. So I managed to convince my other directors that I can get one room and put it as a call center. And this was, I had resigned from my job and I wanted to do this full time. So when they said, okay, you can use this room. One of the director we had one executive office that was not being utilized. So I went there and took desk, and I remember the other team members joking, kwani unafungua cyber? The setting of a business process is like a computer headset and shit and things like that. So we got a client from South Africa. It was along the person who is getting the business is in SA, and then the client is in the US. So we would call people, and we were doing what you call debt consolidation. So we were consolidating their debt. So we'd call people and ask them, hey, do you have debt? We can consolidate the debt for you and things like that. But now the problem was where the office we had, first of all, it didn't have like a power backup. The internet was bad. We didn't have proper system, and I had put everything. And remember, this is just when I'm starting. So one day we were doing this thing. It was not working, and we are getting a lot of pressure. And I felt like I would leave that room and not come back. Like just go and say it failed. And I couldn't look these people in the eye and tell them, they have shown up for work, so they're expected to be paid. The system is not working, which is not their fault. It is my fault, and the team and the IT team. The internet was slow. I remember we were using like a modem. It was not stable. So you will call, and then they will get abused, go do yourself and things like that. So I felt like I would leave and not come back because I am one person who doesn't like to fail people, especially if I've been given the responsibility and they have trusted their responsibility to me. So I felt like I would go and not come back. But I remember I left the room, but I walked through Visual all the way to Sarid.
Walking is good.
And then by the time I got back, I had clarity of what needed to be done and how I needed to proceed. So my lesson here is that sometimes it's good to take a step back and look things. When you're in that mess of trying to sort things out, trying to get the wire and the cables and trying to sort out the internet, you might not have an overview of how things are going.
Picture.
You get a bigger picture. So the moment I stepped out, took a walk, and then came back, I would see things differently. And I would see what needed to be done, how do we need to improve, and things like that. So sometimes it's good to take a step back and interrogate the process, think through, and then go back or pivot if need be. Yeah.
I think, this is part of the reasons why I know, and this is a conversation a lot of times where we say you can't rely on motivation. Because motivation is just nonsense. You have to rely mostly on discipline.
Yeah.
And I think there's a correlation between sometimes, and that's why I always tell people, like, find an exercise you like, even like with like workouts or something. Because the psychological thing about working out is there will be hard things but your attitude towards that hard thing sometimes determines how you think through even in other parts of life. Kuna mahali nafika unaona, let's say you hike. Kuna mahali mkianza it's nice
fun,
alafu kuna mahali inafika unaanza kusema oh lord.
Alafu you can't go back.
Alafu bas ukiangalia watu wanasonga and then you're like, okay, going back is farther? The only way is up, need to end. And in those environments, I think there's a wiring that happens in your mind. That's why I always say, if you're, amongst all of the things that you do, try and find like a workout or something. Because there's a wiring it does to you that makes you not be reliant so much on good vibes. Because it's not always good vibes.
Yeah, true.
Sometimes it's rubbish and you want to, and also take a walk. Kwanza hiyo ya walk is very nice. Ndio maana naonanga mtu akitembea anajiongelesha.
I've done that.
And then you're like, leave this person alone.
And there's someone who was saying that person who decided that you can actually send yourself a message on WhatsApp was a genius. Because people are talking to themselves now, like
on WhatsApp.
You'll send yourself a message.
I've never done that.
And there's someone who was saying he has a group and they argue a lot, and he's the only person.
When we have that.
You have a group. Do you argue in that group?
Okay, we don't argue, but we discuss that.
Wait, Arlon. You're in a WhatsApp group with yourself?
Yeah. I have like a group called Vision, alone.
Me, what I have is
stories.
Me, what I have is like a conversation with myself on chat GPT.
I've tried that, but on WhatsApp it's just like different personalities, and we have discussions.
And there's this other app called Kai, Kai. So a lot of times you can have conversations. It's not an app really. It works on WhatsApp.
It's a language model.
Yeah, So it works on WhatsApp. So you have conversations
with Kai.
Yeah. So sometimes you're like, am I being petty? And then it tells you. Kai is very good at making you calm down because he or she, I don't know whether it's me, I think it's okay, whatever it is. Because it tells you, and then you are like, please be honest.
Be honest.
I can take it. Don't be brutal with me. And then he's like, okay, here and here and here.
Let me ask you something. And I think things are changing. Do you think if you go and tell your folks that naongeanga na hiki tu kwa simu, would they take you seriously, or they will dedicate you a play like you go to church and they say you this service may dedicate you, or
they would take it the same way they used to take imaginary friends. Unajua ukiwa mtoto we had some of us had imaginary friends.
Not some of us, I think all of us.
Kuna mahali ulikuwa unasema hii sahani ni ya nani? Na haina kitu, lakini unasema hii ni ya nani, alafu wanakuangalia zile za na hii mchezo staki. Because there's a thin line between
na mdro ni kama anavuta bangi.
There's a thin line between spirituality, and Africans, we are scared of spirituality. We know all forms of spirituality other than what we have been bred to believe they are demons. So kama unajiongeleshanga wewe kuna kitu unaongeleshwa nayo. We used to translate everything, even sleep talkers. And
so I'm saying why I ask you that is because you see now currently we are lucky enough to have things that we can actually bounce back. And the more we're very receptive to technology also to assist us, like you're talking about Kai, WhatsApp, being able to communicate. I think sometimes we need a voice of reason, so to speak. Someone tell you, this is this or this is this. So it can be an actual person, or it can be, powered by technology.
The shortest, a lot of the time and energy we spend time, we waste a lot of times is in between you knowing who you are, because when you are very clear about who you are, you know what decisions to be made very quickly. Obviously we call it self-awareness, but that part before that, if sometimes you can have real friends that you can have proper conversations with. But in the absence of that, now we have tech.
Groups,
we have tech. Nasikia watu wanajiita mkutano. But it's
what's the name of your group? What's the name of your group?
It was Lonely at the Top.
Lonely at the Top.
Mkono kasauti.
Lonely. This politician.
Okay.
Interesting.
What's one piece of advice you wish you had ignored And what's one piece you wish you had taken to heart sooner? So it's a 2-part question.
Ignored
So
and
what's one piece of advice you wish you had ignored?
That one is deep.
Maybe one that I wish I would have ignored. Did I ignore this one? So maybe I ignored it late. But I think the advice of going to school, study hard, get a job, like that conveyor belt thing we keep talking about. I think that's something I wish I would have ignored earlier.
For real?
Yes, I think so. I think I ignored it at some point. Because like in my campus, I think I only I can truly say I went to campus that year, semester 1. I agree, I went to school.
Before
Before that, I was trying my other things, but still thinking that I'll
you
still
see
make...
why this guy can't print. Nani wa computer science.
na ameandika kwa CV.
But after that, I just decided I'm just studying to finish the course. But at least the good thing is I knew the direction I wanted to take at that point.
Yeah.
And the problem was, you see, that conveyor belt thing, you're not even getting to know what you want to be. Like, people look at your grades and like, you get A's, you should be a doctor or a lawyer.
Yeah.
They don't even know if you can argue any point out. You just assume. So I think that's something I wish I had ignored earlier.
Unaenda kuambia watu kotini, sini mimi nakushow.
So what's one piece you wish you had taken to heart sooner? I think it's something about being visible or I'm not sure if that's the right word, but showing up somehow. So I've always been that kid who, yes, I will study, tunaingia class, the teacher will ask a question. I will know the answer, but I will not raise my hand until I am forced to answer. Like if you pick me, then I will answer, but I won't really...
And why would you say that is the case? Is it because you...
No, that's how it was. And I don't know why. I think...
You feared, is it because of fear or fear of being wrong? Which is actually, I think people...
No, because I knew the answer. But I just didn't want to bring attention to myself. I think that's what I did want. But it's something that later on I started working on. That kid in me is still there, kidogo. But it's something that I should have taken up much sooner.
That is a good one. That's a very good one.
Yeah. Because no one remembers who the chef is, but we'll remember the waiters.
Yeah. Ako huko in the heat and in the credits.
Unless ni Salt Bay.
He's not even the chef, is he? Was he ever the chef?
Yeah.
He was just... He was, eh?
So alikuwa anafanya hivi.
But you know that last part you've said is very true. I think it took time to step out and be comfortable. For a very long time, I've been very okay being in the back of the scenes, and there's a lot that has happened behind the scenes, but there is also no value in it in the long run. And even if you're working in an organization, sometimes, and I think I saw this conversation happening somewhere online, even if you're working somewhere in an organization and it's not enough to let your work speak for you.
Yeah.
At some point you have to
Speak for
you have to step out, and usually I think the emotional disconnect there is either it's a fear thing or it's something that's coming from a place of what we are calling you didn't want the spotlight. At the end of the day, it's still fear.
Somehow.
Is still fear. And I would say the same thing about myself. I think it's taken a while to come and say, you know what, this is you, and you can be seen the way you need to be seen. I even started writing a book, so very soon.
Very soon.
Very soon.
I think my mostly is I will have brilliant ideas. I will have great concepts, but the fear of being alone in it really played a big role. Like, not, unless I have these other people, then I won't do it. And sometimes we bring these people and they kill that dream even before it begins. So it's always good sometimes to start fast and then other people will follow you. And then I realized this, there's one person, one of my mentor called Sam, I think he was one of these show. He told me, Sam, if I had half the brain that you had, I would be a millionaire. And that is when I started now, taking initiatives and saying, I will start this thing alone, and then I will come and sell to the people who are compatible with this idea when it has already started. And at that point, if I truly believe in it, I will still move forward. So that fear of, I want to be many so that when I fail, I don't fail alone. Or I want, like about psychology.
I
sort
think
of
ni
things.
844. Unajua ulikuwa unaulizwa na mama yako mlikuwa mnafanya nini? Ati tulichapwa, lakini tulichapwa sisi wote. Like it's supposed to be a good thing. Yeah. And then there was always that speech, you will walk out of this gate by yourself. But I think we never took it that serious.
That seriously, yeah.
What's the strangest piece of advice someone gave you that actually worked? And did anyone... Wait. What's the strangest piece of advice that someone gave you that actually worked? And did anyone believe you when you told them it did? Strangest piece of advice.
That's interesting.
I've always been in a very... This is not to look for it. This is not to sound sad. But I've always been in a very like solo Lamborghini, sort of like one-seater environment where I don't think I've received a lot. In fact, the most advice that I feel that I have always ignored is the one I've given myself. But I managed to also do the stupid thing of ignoring the same advice I am giving myself. So I've become more... I follow my intuition very hard nowadays. If I sense this is not working early enough, I'm not going to try and force it. So I don't know whether I really have had moments. One of the things that I wish I had before very strong was mentors. I don't think I had enough. I started practicing it when I was thrown in situations. I don't even think those people knew they were my mentors. You know, those things, you go hang out with someone, you talk to them, but they don't know they're helping you. But I think the most that I received was from a gentleman who I worked with. He was the CEO at the time. But he's the one who made it very clear that motion and momentum is important. Continue rolling. Don't sit in one spot. The moment you sit in one spot for too long, that's when
You start dying.
You start dying, and then also you grow some roots that are not... are not. There are environments I've been in that I should not have been in for that long, because the moment they started showing signs of not producing, but then again comes this: when do you let go, and when do you stay, and are you letting go too quickly, or it's a very delicate balance. But if you respond to the highest form of excitement without necessarily it being immoral, as long as you're not hurting anyone, as long as you're, the highest form and the excitement could be when mwizi. But I'm that one you're hurting people. But I'm saying the highest form of excitement being that if you're working somewhere, it's not a bad thing to go and go for an interview. And when you go for an interview, stop feeling like you're denying yours. Sometimes it's looked at like it's this bad thing. If you need to move from a place, please do it. Don't overstay your own welcome. So I think those are some of the things. But I don't think that it was that strange. I think a lot of advice is never strange. It's just usually, as you said, it's in your face. It's in your face. You just need to go with it.
I think mine will be, someone told me it's never that serious. I think I find that strange because sometimes I will beat myself so hard when I've failed. Like you beat yourself and then you start developing phobias of taking initiative or taking risks. So I was very risk averse. But it's never that serious. So if you're going, it's okay to it shows human. It shows that it was important to you. But if you're going to beat yourself, don't beat yourself with a basketball bat. That find something gentle on yourself. At least you tried, and at least you started.
Oh yeah, that's a big.
So it's never that serious. That will be my say. And if you're going to beat yourself, it's okay to beat yourself up, but don't beat yourself up with a basketball.
Time yourself. 30 minutes ya kusikia vibaya.
Yeah.
And then after hapo kama ni kulia unaliaga
story inaisha, unasonga.
Alafu after there you move on.
You dust yourself. Ni kama ukiangusha una nduthi.
Hata
unajianga inanga insurance. Unamkanga unajipanguza. No, ungetu. Mnasonga.
Basi nilikwambia unaenda mbio.
Nilikuwa nimekuambia wewe.
Yeah, but you're right.
But there's someone mwenye aliangusha na nduthi. Akachukua hiyo helmet hiyo mtu akampiga nayo.
No, but it's true. You're not. Yeah, the beating yourself up, I can totally relate. Like it's sometimes, and then we need to learn that we are not. First of all, your brain is a very funny thing. You are not what your brain is a tool. It is not you, and it is built to protect you. So every time it will show you that things are fearful, whatever. That's just what it's trying to. It's built for that. So sometimes not listening to it. When it's telling you are no, there's this guy who does this memes which I find very hilarious. Millennials. This one I was saying insomnia. Inakuamsha usiku, inakwambia Jimmy, you are full of nonsense. Hujajenga, hujafanya sijui nini. Hizo vitu zote. Yeah, it's a bad thing. Don't beat yourself up.
Yep. What is the biggest failure that reshaped your thinking, and how did it change the way you approach your work or life today? What is the biggest failure that reshaped your thinking, and how did it change the way you approach your life, your work or life today? The biggest failure. I think the biggest failure that I would say, to be quite frank, was the biashara cabbage. To be quite frank, because it reshaped how I approach life. It's good to try, but it's also good to know your limit. It's also, don't be a master of everything. And then when you see opportunity, you want to jump into it. The business that you don't understand, there's no need of you going into it. So it is always good to also capitalize on the things that you are good at. For example, if you are not a doctor, then don't open a clinic where you are the doctor. So it's always good to do at least things that you understand, and also to capitalize on your strength. So I've learned that I cannot sell cabbage, for example, or that is not my trade, because this is how I operate, and this is the kind of environment that I thrive in. So that reshaped my thinking, and now I do things that I know I have some skill set, and I can contribute well if I am in a different group, if I am joined with different people to achieve an objective. Yeah. So I will contribute because I know I'm doing things that are within my skill sets.
Yeah. Okay. I think for me it will be my first startup. Getting into tech when we were very young. I think I was 18, and not the 18 of people who are going to Harvard, the 18 of Kenya.
But unajua Arlon 18 bado hairline ilikuwa imesonga nyuma.
Your time ilikuwa sawa. Okay. I have evidence. Yeah, and I think what I learned from that, because it really reshaped my life. So my life went a different tangent after that experience, which I'm happy with the direction it took. But I think we learned a lot in terms of, one, not biting too much than you can handle, which is something that people are usually encouraged to do. Ukisikia kuna opportunity wechukua tu utajua mbele. I think it works in terms of luck, but I don't think it's the right advice to give people. Yeah. So that's one thing that went off. And then the other thing around mentorship. So I'm not saying that young people should not get into such things. But I think if a young person came to me now, I'd really take time to make sure that they're going the right direction, because I'm the one who knows better. So not just letting them try things and just fail for the sake of failure, but giving them the actual true mentorship. So I think that, for me, that would be the experience.
Interesting. That's an interesting.
Should I say mine? in
Yeah,
closing.
sure.
I think mine is very simple. It's been, I think a lot of what I have felt was the mess ups, was my relationships with people, coming from the psyche and person that I am. It has made me, though, very clear about who I can work with and who I can't work with. I think I've been very discerning of the energy that people give. You can know someone that you can do stuff with. You can know someone that this one is not going to go. And I don't jump on anything. I don't jump on everything. And I don't treat everything as an opportunity. Sometimes some are distractions. And I think it's important to know. But I think, yes, we also, I wish there was more mentorship, to be honest. I think it's not enough. And mentorship doesn't necessarily mean going to talk to I don't know who. Sometimes it can be people in just your next adjacent level. It doesn't have to be, we all can't go to, I don't know. Like people, I hear people like the late CK used to say a lot of people are asking him and whatnot. We all don't have to get it from him if, when he was around. Because how many people can he essentially engage?
Yeah.
But there are always people around, I believe. But those people can only be found when you're in motion.
Yeah, I agree.
If you sit and wait for one, because there are some that are not even in your field that can't help you.
Yeah.
But yeah, even in a place of work, if you're within that environment of work, there is someone who knows. There is someone who has an understanding. If you find a connection, make it and move.
And that's one thing I would say, and I would agree in terms of mentorship. And this actually shaped the person that I am today. So just before I joined college, I did not internship, but like a mentorship program. So I worked in a corporate company because I knew I was going to study business and IT. So I worked there for 6 months, just learning and trying to decipher, is this something that I would want to do or invest 4 years of my life in? So I think sometimes mentorship are good because mentors are good because they will handhold you and you get to get a different perspective. Because when you're young, you have a lot of ideas and you don't know where to start, or will it work? Has it been done before? And I'm sure, Jimmy, we get a lot of people coming to ask us questions. I have this idea, I have this app. And sometimes we are brutal, you tell them, but how will you make money? How do you monetize it? Oh, I've not thought about it.
Not to be romantic about something, yeah.
So I think that's a good key takeout.
Cool.
And I think we are done.
How do you guys feel?
It's a wrap.
It's a wrap.
I feel lighter.
No? Nika therapy.
Ilikuwa therapy by the way.
You feel good.
Feel good, yeah.
All right. So I think these conversations are important. It would be nice to know what some of your answers would be. So if you can share in the comments, you don't have to share all the time. Sometimes you can think about it internally. Jiongeleshe, jiite kamkutano, fungua WhatsApp group with yourself, right? But at the end of the day, we keep it moving. We keep it. As we said, this is not about coming here to feel sad or be to doom and gloom. I think at the end of the day, we are all coming from a point of an experience, and those experiences should never be ignored. Yeah. There's a lot we don't put in CVs. In fact, I was seeing somewhere, someone was saying that when they're interviewing people, it's not so much about the all of these things that you've written here. Tell me where you failed and how did you learn from it. Sometimes to a certain level of work, that is what is most important. If you're going to hire a GM, if you're going to hire a CEO, you are better off hiring a GM who has failed or a CEO who has failed or a manager who has failed than someone who is without a blemish. So let's stop running away from it. Let's start embracing what it is. Let's, that's what life is. Let's stop running away from these things.
We define success one fuck up at a time.
Yeah, let's do that, man. Right?
Yeah.
So let's hear what you have to say in the comments, whether on IG, on YouTube, and our handles are right here at the bottom. Right? So see you in the next one.
Okay.